Hey, what's up, guys? It's Drew back on the Money Is show here with not one, but 4 different Money Is guests today. And we're going to go over all different topics of money, the good, the bad, and the ugly about money, mainly from a business perspective. So if you're listening right now and you're not in business, some of these things might be abnormal to you. And hell, if you're actually in business, some of these things we are about to cover might be also abnormal to you, depending on your viewpoints of understanding it and using it and knowing how to work with money as well. But the whole topic of the show is to talk about money. We got 4 different guests on here. All 4 of these are Money Is Mastermind members that have joined from around the nation. We've got, really quick, I'll let them introduce themselves, but we have Heidi from Fort Lauderdale area.
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. And we have John from Dallas area, right?
Yes.
And then we have Patrick and Rob from Palm Beach. And is the right way to say that with Patrick. And then Rob, are you in Palm Beach or are you in Tampa?
Bradenton, like Sarasota area.
Sarasota, Florida area. Okay. All right. So let's go through this together real quick. Give me 60-second introduction. I'll start over there with you, Rob, and you and Patrick can introduce together or separate, however you guys want to do it with your business there. But 60-second introduction, who you are, where you're from, what does your business do, like what industry are you in, et cetera.
Rob Bitts. I come from a construction company in Michigan, and I had a entrepreneurial mindset for a lot of things that I do, and I invest in different things, and that's how I met Patrick, and I will let him explain what we do together.
Right, Patrick, shoot.
Andrew, thanks for having us today.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of course,
it.
man.
We've got several companies.
Okay.
All named Maverick.
Wait, what's it called?
Maverick.
Maverick. Okay.
Yeah. So Maverick Secure basically is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
We do everything from keyboard security all the way to the server, everything in the middle.
Gotcha.
Basically, our competitor, we could rate their software in about 32 to 34 minutes. Utilizing our software from end to end is about 14 trillion years.
Wow.
It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, of course.
But mathematically, that's the only way it can actually be done.
Are you the creator of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm more or less the architect.
Okay.
And then I have the engineers who actually do all the work
Yeah.
and make things happen.
I got you.
So that's where the magic comes from. So yeah, it's an end-to-end solution. We're working with emerging markets in India, Brazil, and elsewhere. In March 12th of 2020, we actually signed a major contract over $700 million with India.
Wow.
And March 13th, the very next day, $500 million contract with Brazil.
Whoa.
And as you remember, March 16th.
This is in 2023.
2020.
2020, okay.
Yeah. So March 16th of 2020, that's when the whole world shut down.
Shut down. COVID hit.
COVID.
Yeah.
So we were just dead in the water. We couldn't do anything. I was taking care of my father who had dementia.
Yeah.
Making sure that he was safe and protected.
Yeah.
One thing led to another, and the 15-day lockdown turned into 30, 60, 90, year and a half, 2 years. So we're just getting those contracts started back up now.
So you did get to keep the contracts?
Yeah.
We maintain the contracts.
Okay.
So
but you can really like open up and build it and run with it.
Yeah.
During that COVID time.
So we have great relationships with these people.
Yeah.
So we have master distributors in each country.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that actually have the clients that are already pre-existing. So they already take care of the banks and the governments and elsewhere in those locations.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it.
Gotcha.
They're the ones that speak the language and are the men on the feet.
Gotcha.
Men on the ground. Yeah. So we just started launching a project in October. We have our first PO, which is due in March.
Right.
So that's where
now at Maverick, is it only cybersecurity, or do you guys own other businesses? Because he started off with construction. So are there other businesses underneath that, or just cybersecurity?
My construction company is separate. It's kind of like
Okay.
just a financial vehicle for
Gotcha.
me right now. But once this other stuff takes off, I'll probably delegate that to somebody else.
Okay. Gotcha.
So with Maverick, we also have Maverick AI, which is for medical.
Yeah.
And then we also have energy, which is clean energy.
Okay. All underneath like the parent company of Maverick.
Sister companies. Yeah. We haven't decided if they're going to be parent companies or not, or
sister.
how that structure is going to be set up.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. After this, if you want to talk about structure, happy to do that with you.
Sure.
All right, John, Dallas area.
Yep,
You
John
guys own
Fisher.
franchises.
Yeah, John Fisher from Dallas, Texas. Me and my son, Cody Fisher, own and operate over 50 retail locations in the CBD and cannabis space. We're also a franchisor, and we have a wholesale company that we are a distributor of products, and then we also have a management and consulting company as well. So we're in multiple states, Texas, Georgia, New Mexico. We're about to launch in multiple other states right now as well too.
And you guys, just for clarity, you guys started it, opened it, and then you franchise your stores.
That's correct.
Is that correct? You're not a franchisee where you franchise from someone else. You're the franchisor, and then open up the franchises
That's correct.
Or
Yeah.
sell them, whatever you want to do, whether it be corporate owned or franchise to other people.
Yeah, as we had built the model out and it was very successful, we knew we had something here. We had a lot of people that kept asking, how do we get involved? How do we get involved? And are these franchises? So we decided to franchise the model and open it up to the world. And we recently signed a deal with Cheech and Chong. We're the exclusive providers for all of their retail footprint for the apothecary CB stores and the dispensary cannabis retail stores.
Wow. All right. We'll get into all this stuff. Heidi, West Palm Beach.
Yes.
Right? All right. Give me the rundown.
I'm Heidi Schock, and I am a business strategy coach.
Okay.
I work with female entrepreneurs, helping them build 6-figure and scale to 7-figure businesses using our money system. And I'm also the host of a podcast called Be She, which stands for Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered.
It's called Be She.
Be She.
But stands for Be Seen, S, Be Heard, H, and then Be
Empowered.
Empowered.
Oh,
Yes.
On the E there. Got it. Be She on the podcast. You have a partner or just you run all of it?
No, I have a partner.
Partner as well? Okay.
Yes.
And so you guys are do you specialize on the coaching side, consulting side? Do you specialize, I think you said for women?
For women, female entrepreneurs,
Okay.
yes.
So are all your clients all women based then? You won't coach men, or you just market straight for women? If men come, you coach, or you won't?
I've worked with men, and I
Okay.
enjoy working with men, but
Okay.
we market to women.
Your focus
That's my story,
primary-
so yes.
Yeah, I got you. Your primary focus is women's side
Mm-hmm.
of entrepreneurship. Okay, very cool. All right, let's dive into stuff. I have like unlimited questions right now. The only reason I love do these shows is I told you guys earlier, when we sat down, I have no questions for you. Now I have like 1,000 questions. The art of entrepreneurship is the most like intriguing art to me in the world because of how much it changes, ebb and flows, moves. Like just like as I was listening to your guys' story with Rob, it's like here's Rob from Michigan in construction, and now somehow is doing AI business in cybersecurity. You know what I mean? Like the connection there. So I'm gonna jump back in with on the cybersecurity side. For clarity, when you say cybersecurity, for the average person out there that's listening to you right now, when you say cybersecurity, thoughts go through my head as a business owner of hacks and people stealing our information, our staff's information,
Right.
Their pay information that we have in HR and so forth. Is that what you're referring to? Part of what you're referring to, or more?
That's a segment of what we're referring to.
Yeah.
We do an end-to-end solution. So we do everything from the bank, ATM machines, gas station pumps, anywhere that you'd have a hacker trying to get your information.
Yeah.
We're protecting it.
How often does it happen? This is actually some pretty scary shit. Like when you go down this road of
Okay.
how often
Right.
hackers are trying to hack.
One of our investors
pretty
actually
wild.
got hacked.
One of your what?
One of our investors
Oh.
actually got hacked in his own bank accounts, and so it's
Is
probably
that what drove him to actually go
pretty-
invest
probably-
and start working
probably,
in cybersecurity? Give me some data here.
So the answer is there are two different people in the world. Those that know that they've been hacked and those that don't know that they've been hacked.
Yeah,
Everybody has been hacked.
yeah.
Every single person, whether you want to believe it or not, every single person has been hacked. So how often does it happen? Millions of times per day, just in the United States.
Yeah.
For example,
Hold on. Because a lot of times when you say a million times a day, for clarity, again, on the cybersecurity side, a lot of times when you think about hacking, we think about this one dude sitting somewhere by himself in a closet, going through trash cans, trying to find your social security number,
Right.
and then your address and entering it into and trying to apply for a credit card. It's not really what you guys, I'm not saying that's not hacking. I'm saying it's not really the in-depths of what hacking actually is in today's market.
It's definitely complicated. There are plenty of different ways that people are hacking. So yes, you do have that person that's the one person that's trying to get
Yeah.
into another
Yeah.
person's information. But mainly it's just people that are putting software that are on computers, servers in the world,
Yeah.
Listening to the data,
Yeah.
the network, and then waiting for that.
Like Facebook.
Right. Or it could be a bank or a company or whatever it might be. And they're basically they have programs that are written to listen to the network and listen for those keywords, passwords, usernames, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then once they see a vulnerability, then they start going into it and then spreading the virus within
So
the network.
when you say everybody's been hacked, I do not. I believe what you're saying from it because the digital footprint that we all have now
Right.
is like freaking impossible. Like it grew too fast, too quick, without allowing everything else to catch up. You know, AI is kind of that same boat right now with how fast AI is ahead of who we actually are as a society, even, right? But when you talk about everybody's been hacked right now, when that happens, like the thought that goes through my head is like, well, why isn't if someone's listening right now and they're like, well, if I've been hacked, why isn't someone taking my credit, applied for my, bought a house in my name, whatever it is? And is it because it hasn't been sold? Or is that just used yet?
It may have been sold, but it may not have been used.
Uh-huh.
So it's on the dark web right now, and people have their username, passwords, their credit card information, social security. All that information is on the dark web for almost everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Who would be available for it. The only person that is not being hacked is the person that's off the grid and pays cash for everything.
Yeah, which is like less than 1% of the world.
Right.
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 Yeah.
So we're also going into emerging markets, which are new to these vulnerabilities, and we're able to start fresh with them. So in the United States, where you already have an infrastructure based on older technology, it's harder to switch over that network, and it's more encumbersome for the bank or whomever it might be to switch over all that technology.
Yeah.
So in the emerging markets where they didn't have the problem, they didn't have the technologies, we can go in there very quickly, put our products in there, and then just start protecting them very quickly with a more secure programming than what they have in the United States.
I get you. John, I have two questions immediately come to my head as I was thinking through what you guys do. Number one, you're in the CBD and what do you call it? CBD and cannabis market. I had weed stuck in my head, but the politically correct word is
That's right.
Cannabis.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But CBD and cannabis. So I think the first question that goes in my head is like, there's a lot of what I would say is on market disbelief in say CBD. Meaning like it hit the market, it got really, really popular. It seemed like for a while.
Yeah.
Stores were popping up everywhere. People are using it for anything you could possibly think of. And then it seemed like it kind of faded away, or maybe that first initial giant wave of it that hit kind of faded away. And then you guys now have 50 plus franchises that are growing. What is the connection with CBD? Is it real? Not real? Is it why did it hit and leave and then stay? Was it just the market correcting itself, getting rid of a wave of entrepreneurs that were not understanding what it was and saw it as a quick way to make money? What is it about the CBD industry that I need to understand?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it was. You know, I got involved in it by actually using the products, and it actually worked for me. You know, so I had issues with sleeping and then some anxiety, and stuff like that. So really helped me calm myself down and then really help sleep of a night. So which is a lot of people deal with that. Well, obviously the pain and just depression, all kinds of different things. There's all kinds of different conditions that CBD and cannabis will help with. And it did blow up because it became mainstream because people did realize that this was not it was real. Like it wasn't a joke. It does work, and it does wonders for people. And, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're sick and tired of taking pharmaceuticals because you're just putting, poison in your body,
Mhm.
That's killing your liver, your kidneys. You take a pill to help relieve a condition. And then that is a domino effect because that pill then now creates another problem that you have to take another pill for, and it never goes away. It's a vicious cycle, and with how many, people that die in America every day, from the opiate, addictions and everything, it's a great, all natural organic alternative, to help yourself, and it did blow up. And then, you do go through those waves where, it weeds out the people that aren't very good at what they do. And as far as when it comes to branding, marketing, and we've always approached it from the customer side of it. We focus on the customer, the guest, not the sale, right? Truly actually find out what they truly do need and what they're in for to actually get them the relief that they need, right? Because again, if it doesn't work for them, then they think it's not real, right? So it's very important that we get them the right products and innovation, education, and compassion has always been our main things, So staying ahead of the curve, coming out with new products, new innovative things, and then really just making sure the experience is there for the guest. It's a different mindset, how we approach it, and it's not a head shop or a vape shop. It's a wellness center, right? And it needs to be perceived that way. So whether you have a 21-year-old or a 81-year-old coming into your store, they should feel comfortable and welcomed and not be afraid to talk to you about what's going on and stuff. So that's what we really focus on.
I got it. Heidi, I'm going to switch over to you. And I get these like a little bit more in-depth intros about your business. And then after this, I'm going to go more into just general business and hit you guys with all kinds of questions about entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, the ugly of it. Heidi, when you talk about business coaching, consulting, right? One of those industries that has a good rap and a bad rap to it, in my opinion. And a lot of people are coaches that should not be a coach, but they look at it as a opportunity to make easy money sometimes. if I can get someone to pay me to tell them what to go do through the process. There's that like kind of that sometimes skeptical side of the coaching side, right? You obviously specialize not just in, but mainly in women coaching. What would you say to the skeptic out there that is looking at the coaching model from a business standpoint as they're skeptics to it? They don't believe it. They don't think someone, you, me, whoever would be, should be a coach. What would you say to that person?
I would say connect with the person that you're following and do your research. That's what I tell all my clients, that before they become clients, I'm like, do your research, see who's out there and what they're doing, and make sure they've actually done it themselves. And for business, talking into business, for business strategy, make sure that the person you're working with has actually done what they're saying that they want you to do themselves, and they've built their business. If you're looking for health and wellness, and that's the person that you're looking to work with, then make sure that they've actually achieved that result and they're doing it as well. So coaches online need to be able to show up authentically. And that, I think, is one of the biggest reasons that there are skeptics out there, because they can see who's authentic and who's not. So just for the coaches out there, show up as you. That's what I teach all my clients. Like, your quirks, what makes you different, that's how you're going to stand out from the crowd. And that's how you're going to draw people to be able to like, know, and trust you and work with you.
Let's talk about business across the board with all you guys. Now, that was a little bit more into you guys' business specifically, but I'm going to go across entrepreneurship and we'll bounce around and you guys can jump in when you want to. I'll try to ask different questions to each of you, but feel free to jump in with answering them. One question I want to talk about, because I see two of you in the room, or actually all three of you have this in common with me, and that is you have partners in business. So I want to talk about partnerships, because I have had partnerships that have absolutely bit it and ate it and ended up in lawsuits. And I've had the greatest partnership I've ever had in my life right now, which is with Eddie, my business partner. Tell me some of the things that you guys apply in business with your partners to keep that business very healthy, on the same page. Obviously, there's going to be disagreements. There's no such thing as like it's all roses. Me and Eddie sometimes have to pull each other aside and say, okay, let's talk about this thing. Where are we off at, right? But tell me what you've learned about partnership so far. And then specifically, John, whenever you want to jump in, I want you to talk about partnering with family, because there's a whole other angle inside of that one. Because you guys are not related.
No.
You're a partnership now? Okay. So John, when you hit it from a standpoint of like family as well, and what is it partnering with family and how that works as well. So Heidi, I'll jump with you first. You kick us off here. What has been something that you've learned about business partnerships throughout these times? And give us a little bit of background. How long have you guys been partners, you and your partner?
We've been partners for the last about 8 to 10 months.
Okay, so newer partnership.
Newer partnership.
So tell me about not that partnership, but like what have you learned about partnership, or what are some of the failures in partnerships that you've seen?
What I've learned is having a mutual respect for each other. We were best friends since high school, so we've known each other for over 30 years, and that was one of the things when I brought her into the business. We said, we're not going to let this affect our friendship, because that was first and foremost. And we basically are like sisters. And she's so different than me, so that works. So finding somebody that has their perfect skill set and respecting that skill set, because she'll come at me with ideas.
So
not
she's
at
more
me.
the creative side.
I'm more actually the creative. She's more of the technical, analytical.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
that
so you're
type
more
of
the
person.
creative. She's more the implementer.
Yeah,
so
I'm more of the
like
idea
me,
person.
and then she's more like Eddie. Is just how I classify it. Okay,
Yes.
So she comes with you ideas. You said
She does come with ideas, and then she'll come with me with ideas, and I'm like, well, we'll talk it through. If I don't agree with it, we'll talk it through. But that didn't happen at the beginning. First, I would just shut down, because I was just like, no. And now I would go back to her and I was like, okay, let's talk this through. And because I do respect her and I do appreciate her input, because it's different than mine, and that's important. So I'm more of the promoter type. I'll come to her with all these ideas and throw them at her, and she's like, whoa, let's organize this.
Yeah.
So she keeps me organized and on track.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so it works.
Rob, jump in. Give me how long have you guys been partners?
Just like a year.
A year now. And have you had partners before?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So without naming names or anything, I want you to tell me, because I'm setting this up in a standpoint of this does not have to be an example between you and Patrick. You've had partners in business for a very long time. Without naming them, tell me something that's kind of went wrong in a partnership, that you structured the wrong way, or it was kind of the demise to that partnership, that knowing it now, like you could be like, oh shit, like we should always handle it this way instead. Like I have a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
Not with Eddie, but with other partners.
I would say not knowing your role.
Okay.
you know, between partners, because
Yeah.
like Heidi said, it's very important to establish the relationship, whether it's already established or you're building a new one because of the partnership.
Yeah.
Defining those roles can really help set a boundary
Okay.
within your business, and boundaries help so that you don't step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
And that's super important because somebody's always dominant, right?
Yeah.
So the dominant person tends to take on more than they should,
Right.
and not let the other person do their thing. And that needs to be defined early to avoid chaos.
Yeah. So for you, you're saying the biggest failure side or way that it goes bad is not defining the roles and understanding the roles of each partner that's inside of the business there. Okay, John, I'm going to go to you. Tell me about partnering with family. It's a extra layer of confusion, complication, but also an extra layer of joy and fulfillment inside of it as well, right? But
Absolutely.
you're definitely playing with fire when anytime you partner, you're playing with fire. And then you play with really fire when it's like, for you, it's your son
Yes.
inside of it. So tell me that.
I mean, for us, it's been absolutely amazing. You know, I mean, I've had some partnerships in the past that one or two that were not successful, you know, and, you know, and that's, it always makes you, you know, weary of getting into partnerships, right? You know what I mean? So, because you don't know what you're getting into. But on the family side, definitely there's more intricacy there, and right, and can be more problems and issues. But we've worked together since, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years now. And we've never had one argument. He knows his role. I know my role. We work very well together. And actually, it's been a very rewarding for me. You know, I mean, like you can't get that time back. You know,
Who started the business? Like idea, if you will. Did you guys start it together, or is it?
It was collectively.
Okay.
Yeah, we were looking for some other things to do,
Uh-huh.
and been a serial entrepreneur since I was 21, 22 years old.
Uh-huh.
And bought my first business when I was 27, and helped launch a company that their initial IP when I was 21 years old that was very, very successful. And that kind of helped set me up for life, you know, and stuff. And so we were always looking for things to do, you know, together. Mm-hmm. And that's how we found this. And we threw some money at it and gave it a shot, and it worked out and was very successful. And then we've never looked back since. But we're a great yin and yang. Like, we balance each other out very, very well. I'm 200 miles an hour with your hair on fire.
Okay.
And he's now calm down, Dad. Let's talk about this. You know, let's think about this. So it's a really great balance, you know, visionary and an operator, but he's a great operator and a great visionary too. So it's kind of a multiple things that we come up with a lot of different ideas together, you know, individually and then collectively, and then work through it, and then, you know, make it happen.
Patrick, are you guys, you and Rob, are you guys similar, opposites? One more visionary, creative, one more implementer? What do you guys have? Would you say?
It's definitely a symbiotic relationship. I mean, I'm more of the visionary as far as where the technology is going to go, obviously.
Okay.
And to your question earlier, if you don't mind, I think having the end game is one of the most important things in mind.
Yeah.
Knowing what you all want to accomplish in the future.
What's the end goal that we're trying to do here?
Yeah. So in the tech industry, there are so many people who want to, like a one and done, just invest and flip it and be done with it 2 years later.
Yeah.
I want to build an empire. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because in the software business, as you know, many people in the business, the profits are huge.
Can be.
95% profit with ours. We don't really need to flip it, sell it, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be our nest egg for the rest of our lives and our kids and grandchildren. And as far as the other aspect, just staying in your own damn lane, making sure that everybody knows what their job is and focusing on that and keep moving forward without trying to interfere with each other.
Yeah, so there's some common themes here that you find inside of partnerships where mine and Eddie are similar. So there is the opposite, yin and yang, and it's not always 100% opposite. And sometimes people think me and Eddie are 100% opposite, and it's not really true. I call it the 80-20 rule. 80% I'm, say, more the visionary side. There's 20% that I'm implementer side, and there's 80% Eddie is implementer, but the 20% he's visionary, and he's bringing me different ideas, Heidi, like you're saying, from that side. We also call it offense and defense. If you look at our structure, how we have a lot of our stuff set up, I'm more on the, and if I draw the org chart here, I'm very much more on the offensive side, growth, revenue, creation side, and he's very much what we call the defensive side. So he's doing a lot of the maintaining efficiency side, creating more profit in what we are building through efficiencies and technology and so forth side of it. A couple things that you guys mentioned. One, Patrick, is a big one, is having the end goal in mind. I think in partnership is huge, because if you and your partner have different outlooks that you're looking at in business, it really will throw the whole thing off, because you're driving from different perspectives. One's driving to get out, one's driving to build long term. And if you're trying to build long term, the decisions that you make today are completely different than if you're trying to, let's build this coaching business for 5 years and then unload the coaching business, or I'm trying to build an empire and I want to die as a coach one day, are different decisions. So I think having the end goal agreed upon, not that it couldn't change if an opportunity came or an offer came, that's like, hey, we got to address this, but the end goal has to be unified from the beginning. I think is a big piece. I want to dive a little bit deeper though, because I want to help people solve problems that are listening. And that is, all you guys agreed that there's this piece of know your role, right? And I talk about this a lot with Eddie. Like, both of us know our role, my role, his role, and we stay in our lanes. You guys use that terminology as well. But I want to go one step further into it, because all that is accurate and true. I'm going to go one step further inside of it. And that is, to stay in your lanes and in your role, it takes an insane amount of trust from your partner. So we can all talk about know your roles. But like in our partnership, Eddie's gone traveling, doing a bunch of stuff for our business. I'm gone traveling, doing different things in our business. We're not always together. He's making decisions for the business. I'm making decisions for the business. We're running very wide open, and there has to be this ultimate trust. So we talk about ultimate trust and how it works. But do you guys have any standards or any opinions on, do you guys have set things that you guys do to reconnect on having that open business conversation with each other to make sure that that trust is continually to get built over time? Like, is there any, I'm looking for a takeaway here for the audience, if you will. Like, I can think of something in my head where here's something that me and Eddie do, where it's like, yeah, we know our roles, we have the end goal in mind, but you also have to nurture that relationship. You can't just say like, oh, we have our own role, so everything's good. You got to nurture it. And there's got to be some deep conversations there. So is there anything that you guys do to help continue to nurture that relationship and that trust and that those roles there inside of it that you guys could give the audience?
I think communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have clear lines of communication, keep them open, talk as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason anybody should be doing one thing on their own without communicating with the others.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is absolutely key. Without that, it's going to be absolute failure.
Mm-hmm. Communication. Okay. John, Heidi, Rob?
Yeah, I think same thing. It's communication. We definitely, our roles are defined and what our responsibilities are. And he trusts my judgment. I trust his judgment. We talk about the bigger things, and like I said, I think communication is very, very key to that. We're on the same page. Obviously, our goal is to build generational wealth. So our end game is the same, and we're both here to benefit our families, right? So that's a little easier than having partners that are not family related or whatever and stuff like that. But yeah, we talk about the big decisions collectively together. And, I'm always challenging my son. When he asks what I want to do with something, I answer that with a question. What do you want to do? How do you want to handle this? I want to see where his thought process is. I want to see where he's thinking, and then
I like that piece.
Yeah. When a lot of times we're on the same page already, because we know what our mission is and what our end game is. Sometimes for him, as he's still growing, as an entrepreneur, the confidence, and I want to make sure that he always has that. And we trust each other 1,000%, but on the big stuff, we collectively talk about those decisions.
Heidi?
We sit down at the beginning of each year and we align ourselves with our vision and mission for the business, but also make sure that we know what each other's goals are for our personal life as well, and that the business fits into that. So yes, we have our business mission, but I want to know what her goals are personally, and she knows what mine are personally. So we make sure that they fit and align with that. And the communication, we talk every day. I also want to make sure that if life happens, we're juggling a lot of hats as women, you all are as men too. But I want to make sure if something's going on in her life, then she can take the space to move through that, and I'll take on more at that time, and she'll do the same for me. And I trust that she has my back, and she trusts that I have her back.
Rob, jump in. You have any thoughts there?
Yeah. I like what you said about, when your son comes to you and says, what do you think about this? And how you flip it back to him, because there's obviously a reason he's asking that question, right?
Mhm.
So he already thought about it.
Yeah.
And that's something that's similar to what I do, because if somebody asks me, hey, what do you think about this? Well, I really haven't thought about it yet. So what do you think? And then we kind of hash it out together, right? So it opens a conversation to be had about that topic. The open discussion it goes right along with relationship, and making sure that you have come to a respectful agreement about it, whatever that thing is, you know?
So there's a lot of points here that I like, and I agree with you. I think that in the end of the day, it's communication is what will destroy the partnership, or therefore lack of communication. Or you could also say, I think the other thing that will destroy it is communicating, but not actually communicating. Or you could say we talk, but we don't communicate. I see this in partnerships, and this is one of the things that me and Eddie safeguarded against in it as well. But it was, for us, we're always trust, and then he has his stuff, I have my stuff, and he makes decisions and so forth with different items. And we have times that we talk and get together and go through stuff. But then one of the things that we scheduled that has sincerely helped us is what we basically just call come to Jesus meetings. And they're pre-scheduled. So it's not a thing where if I feel a certain way of like, I'm confused, why are you doing this? This is not we're not in alignment here. I don't have to go barge over to his office and be like, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. And then you don't want to do that with your partner because you want them to feel respected by you and trusted by you. But there's sometimes that something's going on that you just don't see eye to eye on that thing. And it might be because you don't have all the data and the facts of why it's happening inside the partnership. And so one of the things that we have scheduled is every other week, we have a 1 hour come to Jesus meeting. And it's basically a time for us where we have both agreed, like said it and said, this meeting is for the purpose of getting anything out on the table that needs to come out. It doesn't mean that we're arguing, doesn't mean we agree or disagree, but let's just have a time that we can feel free to put it on the table and understand something that we don't understand at that moment. And then we start every one of those meetings off by realigning and saying, okay, the purpose of this meeting is to get everything out on the table that might be off. I'm not blaming, accusing, you're not blaming or accusing, but I don't want it to fester. And it goes months and months and months, and you start watching it, and sometimes as partnerships you can take tally, and it's like, well, I'm doing this, and then it starts building and building and building. Before you know it, 6-9 months later, you're at this like explosion point of the relationship. And I've had that in partnerships before. And so having that every other week come to Jesus meeting, that is sole purpose. And sometimes we get in there, we're there for 10 minutes and we're like, all right, we're good, let's go. Or we'll just sit there and shoot the shit for the rest of the time because we're clear. But having it scheduled where I know if there's something that I don't agree with right at that moment, I know I have this, I can just say, okay, I want to put it over here and talk about it here, has been a wonders for our partnership instead of holding on to it and creating it and letting it build. You start creating a story of what you think it is, all different stuff. So that was one of our big takeaways, was having that pre-scheduled every other week, 1 hour come to Jesus meeting, and we hold it at the end of the day so that in case it does go over, we have the flexibility if we need more of the time that we can have more time there if we need to inside of it. But that was one of the big things for us. Let's talk about money now. Money is one of those things, especially if you want to tie it back into partnerships, since we're all in partnerships, it's pretty rare that all of us have done a show that everybody on the show is in a partnership. Let's talk about money for a second. Money is one of those things that is very confusing. And even I always think about family, and money has the power to blow up partnerships, but it also has the power to blow up families.
Yes.
One of the craziest stories out there that I always think about when I think about partnerships and families is the story of the business of, I think it's U-Haul, and the story of them. I don't know if you've ever studied before, but if you've never studied it, go read up on it. But it was a family, is it U-Haul or Penske? I can't remember. But they ended up murdering each other. Family members got so out of whack that they literally, I think it was a father and son, and one of them murdered each other through this process over money. And at the end of it, that's what it was. Like, but it was built up and built up and built up, and then poof, you know what I mean? But my point is, money has that power. It has that raw emotional power to destroy stuff, or it has the power to create greatness out of it, right? And that's one of the things I love about money is that you have the choice. You have the choice of how you use it, create it, do it. spend it. It's your choice that you make with it that dictates you through it. But since we have a lot of visionaries in the room, I'm going to ask a question that I struggle with, and I want to see how you guys deal with this as well. Money for me inside of a business as a visionary is almost like this thing that's irrelevant to me. And because I'm so long-term vision, I don't really give a shit about it as long as I pay my bills and I'm living. It's like, oh, okay. And I will spend all of it for the future of the business. Like it's okay by me to go all in on stuff in a partnership. But before you got in the show, we left. These guys were walking around with me, and I took you over to our cash flow Performula meeting that's all day long, going through every last fine tooth piece of money. What have you guys found as entrepreneurs a struggle with money inside of your business has been? So where's a piece inside of your business that you have struggled? You may not struggle with it right now, but I'm saying you have struggled with it in the past when it comes to money inside of your business. We all do. We all have. What's something that you struggle with money inside of your business?
I think in the beginning, when you're starting your business, it's more about where to allocate the funds.
Yeah.
To manage that money. They manage the cash flow. And then as you're increasing your revenue, like now I'm the same way as you. I'm just let's dump the money into the business so we can scale and grow to help more people. Because I just want to help more women and female entrepreneurs build the business they love so they can take care of their families and do the things that they love. So I think, but at the beginning, it's more about what is the most appropriate places that are going to get me the most from investing that money. That was the biggest struggle that I had, because I would throw money at things and then it wouldn't work. And then I would start feeling bad about myself and my decisions. And I think just having that, that clarity of what's going to get me the furthest with that money that I'm investing, that what's the return on the investment.
Allocation side of it. Yep.
I think for us, we ran very lean and mean for quite a while, and probably too long.
Too long, okay.
Yeah, and I think it had a little bit of a reverse effect. You think you're saving all this money and doing the right things, but I think it slowed us down a little bit more than it helped speed us up, because we needed more resources. We couldn't handle everything as efficiently as we needed to on a daily basis. And then as we realized that, we started adding more to our team. It really was a lot of relief, and it definitely was well overdue. We should have done it sooner. I think
so. You guys ran too tight at the beginning, which is opposite of sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs, where we run too loose sometimes with the money. You guys ran too lean with money, which eventually, like you say, could 100% stunt growth. Inside of what you're doing. And if you never overcome it, you actually get stuck in that spot and you can't figure out why you can't grow. And it's because everything you're based off of is not spending, but growth is spending. Those two go hand in hand inside of. So that's a unique one. You went too lean with money too fast. What about you guys, Patrick, Rob?
I'd say that when it comes to money and finances, it's extraordinarily personal, and people get emotional with it.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is, I totally understand. I try to remember and just keep it in my mind, and I have to remind myself all the time, money is a tool.
Yeah.
And you have to use it as a tool of your business, whether it's a truck for a construction company or servers for a tech company. It's a tool, and you just have to use it and think about it appropriately and keep things moving like that. So it's just another tool in your belt for the projects.
Like it. Anything, Rob?
I just think, whether it's business or personal, you can't hang on to it too tight. That's the only thing I would say, because if you might miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
One
thing that helped me, because I'm maybe a little bit like Heidi on this, where it's like I will just throw everything at, I have my money, pay, whatever, and then the rest of it's like I don't care. I'll throw everything at it. And one of the things that I was for a long time doing was, there was this thought in my head that almost like this weird concept that we think where if we have more employees, our business is bigger. There's this kind of this like weird nuance that happens. And sometimes as visionaries, when we don't know how to always implement the right way and implement through processes and procedures, what we'll end up doing is overhiring, because we think if we hire this people, then that will take care of this thing over here that I can't figure out, and they can go do it. And it's not a person's going to solve it. It's the process and systems that have to be created and then managed through it to actually scale. And so a lot of times I would overhire, trying to compensate for my not understanding of implementation. And one time Eddie came to me and we were talking about stuff, and he's like, hey, just understand our profit margins and our company runs on X. Here's our total profit margin. Like when we look at our company, after you take everything out, this is our profit margin that we run off of. And he said, start looking at it through the eyes of when you hire that X new person and you're going to pay him whatever the amount is, $150,000 that year. For us to be actually recoup that, how are you going to drive $600,000 in revenue so that we can have the profit margins that we base off of this? We need to figure out how to drive revenue of X to pay for this because of our profit margins are here. And once I started looking at it through their eyes, it was a different viewpoint of like not just hiring someone, but understanding with our margins, how do I justify the expense, if you will? Yeah. Not just like because sometimes we'll look at it and say I pay this person 150 grand a year, but they bring in 150 grand, so we're even. And it's like, well, it's not really true because there's all the other expenses that go inside of a business that are out there minus their salary. And so it actually is going to take me, I got to make 600 grand, not to pay for that person, but to actually run the business with the current margins that we have. It would take me 600 grand to pay for that person. Mm-hmm. And you start looking at that standpoint, it's like, okay, how is this going to move that needle up to the 600 grand mark? And and again, it's not tying every employee because not every employee is driving revenue. But when I started looking at it from that standpoint, it made me slow down on my hiring because I couldn't find always ways to justify. I want to go hire 5 more people. So I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna have to find a way to make $2.5 more million. Right. And I don't know where I can squeeze this out, right? To run on the margins that we want to run on inside of it. Because if not, then you're just lowering your margins every time you hire. Right. You're just lowering your margins inside of it. It helped me change my perspective. It's not that I just sent a message last night to my staff. We're hiring like 6 more people. So it's not that we're against hiring people, but it's like looking at it from that perspective was really unique. Talk to me about success. What do you mean by success is there's certain, you look at success and we're talking about business success, strictly here, not personal or relationship, but just business success. There's certain ingredients that go inside of successful people. And there's not one ingredient that makes up success. There's a lot of ingredients that make up success. But if I were to ask you, what would you say is the number one ingredient in you that has helped you become successful? What would be that ingredient that is probably the highest ingredient that you have in your cake, if you will, that makes up success? What would be your main ingredient that has helped you get success? What would that be?
I think for me, it's my my abilities. You know, I've always known that. I don't want this to sound cocky, but conceited. But I've always been convinced of my ability to take something and make it great, and I've always been able to do that. You know, so from a visionary and operator, whatever that dynamic that makes all that up. And I've always been a risk taker. I've never been scared, like you just said. I'll throw it all in. In the beginning we weren't, but then after we're like, okay, we've seen what some fuel to the fire added to it, then we were all in and we went in other states and all that. So I think for me, it's just really that ability and determination. Like I'm determined to make sure that my family is taken care of for the rest of their lives.
When you said the word abilities, it made me think of the word confidence.
Yeah.
You, as an entrepreneur, business owner, there's a certain amount of confidence you have to have. What are the other ingredients that you guys find that's specific to you as much as possible?
I think for me, it's drive. I've always been very driven. Like when I was 11 years old, I had a paper route and I would use my paper route money to buy baseball cards. And then I would find all the good ones. And on the weekends, I would advertise in the newspaper that I was having a baseball card sale in my driveway. And I would have like 40-year-old guys buying cards from me.
That's cool.
I remember I had like 3 Shaq Gold cards, Yeah. It was Topps Gold. And I had guys come up and I'm wheeling, dealing with these guys and getting like $100 a card from them. I was just driven.
Now worth a lot more if you'd have kept those Shaq Golds.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. But, at the time I was like, well, I could buy some, profit and buy more and just keep going. But I was driven and whenever I've had a hurdle in life, it's just, we'll figure it out. I'm not going to panic. We'll just figure it out. I guess that comes with creativity, and
yeah, I mean the ingredient determination you'll find in every entrepreneur alive, you'll find the word determination is got to be one of the ingredients that's at the very, very top as a common denominator is the word determined and determination through there as an ingredient. Patrick and Heidi, what do you guys, as a top ingredient that you guys have?
For me, it's persistence because this journey isn't easy. So just persisting through those hard times when they show up or those challenges that show up in business in general and pushing through fear because every time we're moving to the next level, it's new. So fear shows up. And I've learned to, when I get that feeling and I'm scared to do something, that's my green light that I automatically have to step into that and push through it.
Yeah. I look at persistence and determination as a little bit different, uniquely enough. I look at determination as the more like the high level, big picture stuff that you're just like just completely determined to drive to certain levels. And I look at persistence and persistency in business as the small day-to-day that things just pop up constantly and fear and different emotions. And it's the persistency of just showing up and doing over and over again and being persistent through it. And I look at determination as just that raw determination that's out there on a big picture side. All right, Patrick, what would be an ingredient for you?
Something that's very specific to me, I'd say the way I view the world and interpret it. So what I mean by that is I have a mild case of dyslexia.
Okay.
So in high school, I was a solid D student.
Okay.
In college, when I found out what dyslexia was, it shot up immediately to A across the board. So I learned how to interpret things, learn things differently, and look at the world a little bit differently. So that's been a huge success in technology because everybody in the tech industry who went to school in MIT and Harvard and everywhere else for tech, they learned the exact same methodology to doing technology. I had to interpret it my own way. So we came up with new technologies that nobody else has thought of because of the vision of interpretation of the world. Yeah.
Interpretation. That's an ingredient you don't hear much of, is the word interpretation. But it is, I can see it as you say it, is very, very unique because as an entrepreneur, you're constantly given things and propose things and ideas that someone brings to you. And it is how we interpret what we're looking at from a risk standpoint, from a reward standpoint, how do we interpret this is going to apply to the world, our customers? How do we interpret this is going to affect the ripple effect from it? We definitely, as entrepreneurs, have a lens of interpretation that we look at things different inside of it. But uniquely for you, because of the dyslexia in the grade school, high school side, and then forcing yourself or figuring it out and solving it, which you had to interpret things differently constantly because of dyslexia there. Exactly. It created this roadmap for you inside of entrepreneurship that became this very, very strong ingredient inside of you that you have, which is how you interpret what's coming into you. I like that, man. That's a very, very unique one.
When I started researching it, I found out there are a huge number of entrepreneurs that have dyslexia.
I know, it's wild.
Yeah, I was blown away.
Let me back up. I would say it this way. There's an insane amount of entrepreneurs that are very successful. Like when you actually start hitting highly successful entrepreneurs, I am blown away by how many of them have that growing up. Right. It's wild inside of it. Let's talk about the word that none of us hate, all of us hate, but all of us have gone through, and that's the word failure. Inside of, again, business here. Let's talk about failure. In general, what I want to know is like, what is your viewpoint on failure? Because there's so many people that are afraid, and you probably do this a lot as a coach. There's so many people afraid to just go, just do it, just take the step. They're crippled by the fear of failure in their lives. You guys have all experienced fear or failure at different levels, some small, some huge. Sometimes daily, we as entrepreneurs, we go through daily failures almost at what's going on. What is your viewpoint on failure? That's probably your philosophy of failure when it comes to business. It'd be a good one right here.
I think it's necessary, right?
Necessary.
I mean, you got to have failures. You know, it's with you have not because you ask not type of thing.
Okay.
Or like, you never know if that girl's going to go out with you unless you ask her. And it's always no if you don't ask. So, and that goes with actions too. You know, if you don't do, you're not going to get. You know, so. And then when it does happen and you do fail, then you know what you did wrong and you can analyze that and make yourself better, you know?
Okay. Got it. Someone else?
Well, I think, when you talk about winning and losing, like the risk factor, the statement, winners lose more than losers lose, right? Because they were afraid to take that step and take that leap, so that's always been a driving factor for me, is like the unknown, like you don't know until you figure it out, right? You know what I mean? So I always had that mission, to not be afraid and do whatever it takes, and make those decisions and leap. And I've had some failures, that's for sure. But in the process of all that, I think we've had way more successes than we've ever had failures. But you learn from it, and don't repeat the mistakes.
I'd say hedge your bets. So what I mean by that is that too many people, including myself, what I've done in the past is always thought that this is the best idea ever, put everything I have into it, and just go at it full speed. So what I have trained myself to do is to be very conservative on what I'm trying to do, so I can hope for the best but plan for the worst. So I'm going into it a little bit more conservatively, and moving forward in that direction.
Okay, Heidi.
Well, action brings clarity. So by taking action, we get clear on what's working, what's not working. So by quote unquote failing, we're learning what's not working. So we get clear on the next step on what way is going to work and help us grow our business. And I say it to my clients all the time. I'm like, get messy. Messy makes millions. And by getting messy and just going for it and doing it, you're going to get further faster.
I think that there's a couple of things here. One thing that was in my head was, as I was listening to Rob and John, the one word that goes to my head is interpretation again. Because if you watch entrepreneurs, when it comes to failure, they view failure as different than other people. It's like Rob was like, failure is almost like necessary. It's like, well, it's going to happen. It's okay. It's part of the process inside of it. It's kind of what John was talking about, is like you have to take action to go get to the end of it. And more winners have failures than failures have failures, because it's part of what's going to take place. But it's that word interpretation of like how entrepreneurs view failure is part of the process, is part of the journey. We don't view it as the end of the world that controls us into what we're doing inside of it. I think a mistake that I hear too much, this is unique because sometimes I have maybe more controversial viewpoints, but I think that failure is too accepted as entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is like, no one, when we talk about failure and we talk about failure is necessary, failure you look at Michael Jordan, he missed more game-winning shots than he made inside of it, okay? And there's this story that I think people have told themselves, and I'm not saying you, but I'm saying coaches have told people, parents have told their children about failure inside of it. And almost the way that they coach through it is like, well, it's gonna happen, so be okay with it and expect it to take place. And I think what happens there is we create this idea that losing is okay, that failure is like, well, it's just part of it. Like you're gonna lose. And whether that's true or not, that you're gonna have days that you lose or business that go through, I think there's this idea of like we're too accepting and soft with failure, because Michael Jordan never went out to take that shot saying to himself, well, I'll probably miss more of these than I make. That never went through his head.
Never his mentality.
Does that make sense? He went out there with the idea of there is 100% chance I'm going to make this shot. Or he'd have never taken the shot, meaning like that's where fear controls you.
Yeah.
He never went out on the court and said, give me the ball. I don't know. I mean, I could make it. I could miss it. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to do it and then we'll see. And I think that's where we've guided entrepreneurs the wrong way of saying like, well, you're going to fail and that's just going to be part of it. Like Jordan never went out and said, well, I don't know. I mean, guys, it could go either way. Like there's this interpretation of it of I'm going to win at this. Yeah. And winning is what drives you. being victorious is what drives you, not, well, I'll win some and lose some. Like that mentality to me is a wrong mentality that entrepreneurs have. And it is creeping bigger and bigger into the society of like, it's almost like you got really big once you hit like participation trophies as kids. And it's like, well, we're not going to keep score. We're just going to all win through the process. And I think there's this mistake. I think it's like, yes, I get it. I agree. Failure is going to happen, but that shit. I'm not playing this game for failure. And people say like, there's a whole concept like fail fast. And it's like, no, I don't want to fail at all. Zero. If I can make a scenario where I won every single time, that's exactly what I would go do. No one wants to. And then I was caught in this world of like, I have learned the most through my failures because when I fail, I'm able to grow. Okay, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
But it, I would rather learn from my wins and not have to go through the darkness valley, bankruptcy, foreclosure process to learn. I would rather just be able to win and learn from that viewpoint versus having this idea and acceptance of, oh, I'm going to fail and I just got to fail fast so I can learn so I can move forward. There's this weird like acceptance I think we're getting inside of the word of failure as entrepreneurs that's a little bit misguided into what we're doing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Like, you didn't set out and say, you know what I love to do in this business? Boy, I love just to it all up. Like,
yeah.
no one
Just
says
blow
that.
money and lose it all. Yeah, that's
like,
a great
like,
idea.
I don't know. I mean, we could go either way. I don't know. And we'll just have to do it and we'll see and wish us the best. Like no one actually plays the game that way.
No.
We're playing the
agree.
game fully anticipating, fully believing that we're going to win. And so I think by having this like almost like acceptance of failure in our life, it gives us this scapegoat and it blocks some of our growth from actually happening because we're always holding on to this like crutch or it reminds me of not every family is like this, but it reminds me more of my like mom as a kid growing up. My mom was the one that in sports, if I struck out or whatever it was there to like coddle me and tell me it's okay and love me through it. And my dad was like, well, get to the fucking batting cages. If you don't want to strike out, you go to the batting. Like, there's two different like philosophies there. And it's like almost like holding on to this fear of like, okay, I want my mom to coddle me if I lose in this moment in entrepreneurship. And I think there's this misconception of failure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm my own worst critic. Like I hate failure. Like it is not an option. It really isn't. And I want to get to the bottom of it. What happened? What failed? Where did we go wrong? What decision led us down this path versus the other path? And I want to know.
I think that John or Patrick, the piece that you made when you gave your answer, I thought of, and that is, I think maybe it's interpreting. It goes by that word interpretation, because when I look at failure, it's not even on the radar in my business. Like it's not even there's nowhere in the plan idea that there's failure. Now, saying that, what made me think of this is you said hedge your bets.
Right.
You're talking about that. And what I will do is I play chess. Is this like my thing? And I don't actually mean like chess. I play that. I play chess inside of a move or in business. So I'm going to do something. Mm-hmm. And inside of when I'm playing chess, I'm hedging my bets. Right. So when I make a move, let's say if I think through, I'm going to make this move right here. I will then look at that from 9 different angles of what could happen. Like this is what I want. And then I will hedge my bets around that. And meaning that I'm going to bring in this celebrity speaker. Say with our business, right? I'm gonna bring the celebrity speaker, and my main objective here is that it draws enough ticket sales to the Aspire event. Right. Mm-hmm. But while I invest this $200,000 for that brand to come in, I'm gonna set these other pieces up around it that could help me if any of them work or go through. I will be able to utilize the other stuff that are small wins that are almost guaranteed. Okay, I'll give you an easy example here. Just because you guys are in my office today. If you go to my conference room, it is full with colorful cartoon images of celebrities that have signed a piece of art, their cartoon image of themselves. Okay, I know this is weird, but that is me hedging a bet because I'm gonna spend $200,000 right here, and my main objective is that if this person brings in enough people to our event that the model behind what we have works. Hedging my bet is I'm going to get them to sign this piece of cartoon here. I'm going to put this on my wall. And when people come in my office, when I'm on the Zoom calls in my office, it faces that wall right there. And I cannot tell you how many conversations on Zoom I've got onto with someone. And they're like, my God, who's all those people behind you? I'm like, oh, these are all people that I've done stuff with, worked with, et cetera. And it gives me that little weird win that's like guaranteed. That makes sense? And so when you said hedge your bet, I constantly am hedging my bet when I make a move on a piece so that it almost blocks it for me ever losing. Like, even if that one thing right here didn't work, I know that these things are going to win for me. So no matter what, at the end of this, I'm going to have wins. Like, I will win when I go do this right here. I don't do it where it's just like, I'm going to go hire a brand and hopefully it all works out. Hopefully they'll draw tickets, which is what most people actually do. It's like, I'm going to bring the speaker and then he'll draw enough tickets. And it's like, okay, but what if that doesn't? Here's 9 more things that I'm going to do. That's going to little thing, like a cartoon signature, but it gives me wins throughout business. When you said hedging your bets, is like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. So that there's almost like, no, I can't lose. Like, no matter what, I will come out winning in this scenario. So here, I like that one. It's hedging the bets. I look at it as a chessboard, and then it's like, as I move it, what are all the pieces around it? But when it comes to failure, if I hedge my bets like that, I can't lose. That makes sense? Therefore, there's no failure.
Absolutely.
Like, there's no failure. Doesn't mean I don't get kicked in the teeth at work with shit that don't like happening, or people want to quit or whatever it is. Like, there's always getting kicked in the teeth. That's where persistency, Heidi, comes in, where you're just like, okay, just keep going through it. But you don't lose because of all the hedging the bets you guys have.
Correct.
You know, inside of it, through there. Okay, you guys want to chime in on that one? I went deep on that one.
I mean,
My viewpoint on failure and hedging your bets.
I love the interpretation part. You know, when you're talking about that and about your character, that's one I've never heard. So that's pretty interesting. You don't think about that.
Do you
as
guys
much.
find yourself doing that? Like hedging your, I'm gonna use the word, Patrick's word. Do you find yourself hedging your bets? And I say hedge your bets, I'm just meaning you go open up a new store.
Yeah.
You gotta go franchise this person. That's a lot of risks that you're gonna take, even though you're the franchisor. There's risks that you take there. You're gonna go bring on a new client. You're gonna go market to acquire new clients. Do you guys find that you have these other wins, small wins, that you're setting up around it, so that at the end of it you win? Do you guys do any of that?
Yeah, I think also too the requirements, and what's going into this, the decision, the thought making, and you're looking at it from, like I said, 9 different angles. Okay, it has to check all the boxes. Like, pick a bad location. Well, you might have bad sales, right? That's a failure. So we have these fail safes that we're in place to where we're playing chess when we're making these decisions. So that's a good way to look at that.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's think about the famous question of money is blank. Patrick kind of gave a answer. I'm not saying it was your answer. Could be, I don't know. But going into the question of like money is blank inside of it, and I started that concept just to make people think, meaning it opens the door. It creates a conversation of just like, there's no wrong answer, like whatever you want it to be, but it created I was doing it to create the format for people to just be able to openly talk about it and inside of it. So I want to go through and talk about money is blank. I mean, what is it? What's that word there for you? And then we're going to define it out. Like, why did you choose that word? Like, why did you, what makes you say that as your answer through the process? I started the show with Rob first. So I'm going to start with Heidi first on this side, kind of the last question here. So Heidi, what would be answer for money is blank, and then why?
For me, money is energy.
Energy, okay.
Because it's always in flow.
Okay.
And the more free I am with money and the flow, the more abundant it's going to come back to me.
Okay.
So being unattached to it and, just being free with it. So
Now, did you guys talk this morning and share your words with each other?
No.
No.
Or is it all?
No.
Because we'll see that some people are like, oh shit, she took my word. I got to give a new word real quick. You can use the same word. It doesn't bother me.
We had no idea what the questions were. We couldn't have shared the information.
But so uniquely enough, money is energy is one of my favorite answers that, as people have talked through it, has said, because at the end of the day, money itself is actually nothing more than stored energy. Like when you take if I took a money out of my pocket right now, that $100 bill, let's say, is a representation of my energy. That's all it is. Because I had to do something over here to get that. I mean, I had to spend my energy, whether it be brain power, whether it be physical, power, whether it be leverage power. But I had to do something over here to get this thing over here. And it doesn't matter, even if it was you won the lottery, okay, but you still had to go buy the freaking ticket that day. And that money is just stored energy of what you did that one day. But money is nothing more than stored energy. And once you understand that, it's like the higher level of energy that you can create, meaning the higher frequency of energy that you can provide the world, the more money you can get back, because it's always in constant flow to it. And positive energy and business attracts money constantly. Like it's just like anything else. Like negative energy attracts either negative people to you in life. Like if you just talk about friends, right? Like if you're a negative person, you tend to attract other negative people. Like no one's super negative and then all these super positive people come and hang out with you. Like you attract other naysayers and people that tell you why you can't do it inside of it. So energy is like a freaking massive flow to it. All right, John, what's your word?
That was a good one. I love that one. Freedom, and I know I've seen this used before, and people talk about it. But to me, it's freedom. You know, it does allow you to take more risks. It allows you to do more things. It does give you some time that you don't always have when you're working for somebody else or whatever, right? So, to me, it's really about freedom and just gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things that maybe you may not have had the opportunity to do without it.
Have you ever heard my story from Mike Tyson?
I think I have.
And do you know what he said about money is freedom?
I can't remember exactly, but it was something negative though too. I can't remember the exact words.
I remember what you said.
Yes. So I had this interview with Mike Tyson, and I asked him the question, and he said, well, what are some of the other answers that people give you? And I said, well, the most common one is money is freedom.
Yeah.
Probably the most common one. And this is when he literally jumped out of his seat. We're in an interview, and we jumped out of his seat and started laughing and running around the office, like off camera, laughing hysterically. Granted, he was high, maybe from some of your product, John. I don't know.
I have smoked with Tyson.
But and then he came back. He said a profound statement, and he said, "Money cannot be freedom." And he said, if money is freedom, then you will forever be a slave to money. Because for you to be free, you'd have to have money. Therefore, you'll be a slave to money. Mm-hmm. And it's a play on words there, but in psychology, like words are so freaking important into our brain and what our brain understands. And I think the word that people are trying to say when they say freedom is opportunity.
Yeah.
Money can provide opportunity because you can live free. Like you are free. You're free as a human. You're free as a American citizen. You have freedom as it stands. But I think it's opportunity, meaning money can provide you the time to go spend time with your children. It can provide you the opportunity to take your family on vacation. It can provide you the opportunity to send your kids to a university that you didn't get to go to. I think the word when we say freedom, I think what we're meaning to say is opportunity.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really where I was going with that for sure, because it does open up different world to you,
doors
and different opportunities
to you inside of it. And and if you tell your brain that money is freedom, therefore you'd have to have money to be free. Therefore, you'd be enslaved to money, which is the worst case possible. It's the worst thing that could happen to you if you become enslaved to money and you have to have it. But to say that you'll have opportunity without money, well, that's not true.
Right.
Like
that's true.
Money for sure provides opportunity. It for sure having money provides you the ability or the opportunity to do certain things in life inside of it, including time. And a lot of times we say freedom, we're meaning time, I think sometimes too.
Yeah.
The ability to come here, right? That you guys jumped on a plane, you and your son, and flew here. That money provided you time.
Correct.
To go do that, right?
Yes.
And ever since Mike Tyson told me that, I'm like, dude, that guy is crazy as shit, but also might be one of the most profound statements I've ever heard. When you think about what he said there.
Yeah.
Anyways, So,
When you look at his life from all of it,
yeah.
it makes a lot of sense.
And the last thing you want to do is tell your brain that to be free in life, you have to have money, because then you're always enslaved
Correct.
to it
Yeah.
versus just living free and open as a human and inside of it. But it's just the wrong terminology that I think we tell our brain. And what we're really saying is, and I think in that example is money is opportunity.
Yeah.
It opens doors. And once you define what you said, it's not freedom.
Right.
Right. It
Makes
actually is
more
opportunity
sense.
is what you're defining inside of it there.
Yeah.
And therefore you're no longer a slave to money, because if it's just opportunity, you can choose how much or how little opportunity you want, don't want. That's your choice that you get to go make inside of that into it. All right, Patrick.
I'm going to go back to tool.
Okay, that was
I
your
know it's
answer. You said earlier.
It's,
All right.
it's overused. Forgive me for saying that, but it's going to open up doors. It's going to be that carpenter's hammer, the Uber driver's car, or the celebrity's jet, whatever it might be. So it's just a tool. And just like your wall, which I thought was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
That's an awesome wall. And it is art, collectively and individually, but it's also a tool, like you mentioned. Because you had these celebrities or whomever it might be go to an event, sign the artwork, but you're utilizing it perpetually as another tool.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think money as a tool it's a great one that people come up with, and I always look at it from a standpoint of when people say the word tool of you take a hammer in a toolbox. That hammer, you go take a carpenter's hammer that's been there for 50 years. That this carpenter construction has built houses and a framing hammer, and has built houses with his framing hammer, nail guns now, but still framing hammers. And you could look at that, and if you understand it, that framing hammer either provided massive value for humans, or it provided zero value, and it sat on a shelf at Home Depot that never sold, right? Okay. But at the end of the day, the carpenter had to choose to use the hammer.
Right.
So when money is a tool, it's a verbiage to me is saying money is useless until it's used.
Right. Let's just swing that hammer.
The hammer's sitting there, and it provides no value to anybody sitting there or inside that toolbox. It has no value to anybody right now. But if you take a carpenter's hammer after 30 years who's framed houses and built houses, now all of a sudden that tool, that hammer, has provided 143 homes that families are growing up in, kids are inside of, and that tool has massive value of what it's delivered to the world, to society, to humans. Yeah. But someone had to choose to use it. So unless you choose to use money the right way as a tool, it has no value. It's in a toolbox. It just sits there. Yep. But if you choose to use it, money is in your definitions there, like a Uber driver or a jet or for a celebrity or whatever it is. It can become extremely powerful if used properly by the creator in that scenario there.
Storing it under your mattress isn't going to do any good.
Yeah. There's no value to you whatsoever. All right, Rob.
I would say money is provision.
Provision, okay.
Whether it's being able to provide for your family or whether it's so that you can, donate to charity or, help someone out if needed. You can't help someone that's in need if you don't have. So that's what I'd say. Money is provision.
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's a cool one when you think about money, because if you go, I don't know if sometimes I share this, sometimes I don't on stages when I teach, but if you go into from like a biblical standpoint, there's always that money is the root of all evil, or the love of money is the root of all evil. But they never talk about Ecclesiastes when it says, but money answereth all things.
Right.
And it made me think about when you said provision, because, with Impact Others, our foundation is like, we can do a lot of really good stuff for the world with our foundation of Impact Others by providing food for children who literally won't eat tonight unless someone helps them. Okay. And to do that, we could have the volunteers that are ready to go, the human bodies. They're like, yes, I'll go to Honduras and I'll build this I'll take my hammer and I will go build a feeding center. Like I'll build it so we can use it. So you could have the volunteers, you could have the humans that want to go. You could have the need, meaning the need is there through the process of children being hungry. You can have all the ingredients. Food exists. It's not that it doesn't exist. It does exist. Like everything that needs to happen can be there, but it's going to take one thing to actually make it work that you will not get away from. No matter what you do, you will not get away from this one thing, and that is money.
Yeah.
Like we could have the greatest idea of how to feed children that are starving. We got the volunteers to go do it. We have grocery stores and farmers that provide it. We have kids who need it. The one thing that will make it work that you have to have, you cannot get around it, is the provision of money. Without the money, it won't freaking go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, how many foundations exist right now that are truly meant to do great things, but they never went anywhere. They never got to go. Why? Money. Wasn't the lack of the need. It wasn't the lack of desire. It wasn't that they didn't want to go do it, or there wasn't a need for it. No, it was just money. Just didn't have money.
Yeah.
And money is that one thing that solves so much of the issues that we have in society is money when it comes down to it. So all really good words. So repeat it back over here. Heidi, you said money was energy. John, I'm going to give you money as opportunity.
Yes.
As a switcheroo there.
Thank you.
I'm going to get, we got Patrick with money as a tool, and Rob with money as a provision. All really, really cool, insightful answers on money and what you can do with it. All right, guys, this is the Money Is Show with four of our Money Is Mastermind students here. We appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you next time on the Money Is Show.